Yeah, and offensively, I think they only finished with 215 total yards, I believe, against the Saints on Monday night. They got nothing done, and it's such a letdown situation because everybody figured this was going to be the game. They were going to beat the Saints. They had won 8 in a row, blah, blah, blah. And now you have to have some type of letdown. You know you're going to win this game. You know if you show up, you're going to beat Carolina.
Right.
But I'm with you. If you're going to bet it, you've got to grab the points with the Panthers, who, although dominated by Pittsburgh last week, that was a situation the Steelers were coming off the home loss against the Jets. People will say, oh, well, the Falcons are coming off the home loss against the Saints. Different scenario here. You know, that was a much bigger rebound game for Pittsburgh at home against Carolina than it is this one for Atlanta at home because you know the Falcons are just so much more talented here. But again, that's a huge, huge number, and Trace is right. The Dogs have covered all season long, so why not grab 14.5 points in a lousy game?
The only reason would be, I guess...
Having said that, let's remember that the Falcons blew them out 31-10 in the first meeting a couple of weeks back, and they barely even tried in that game. So, you know... tread lightly, but I think the points are the way to go for sure in that one.
Yeah, and Carolina's got to be real happy that this is the last game of the season for them. I mean, they're probably looking to rush towards that exit door as fast as possible.
And, you know, winning one for the Gipper doesn't work in the NFL when your head coach, John Fox, is going to be fired probably within minutes after this game is over.
The Gipper's dead.
Another game I want to talk to you about, a team that has faint playoff hopes still, needs a lot of things to go their way. The Giants in an NFC East game against the Washington Redskins, who, surprise, surprise, are 1-1 straight up and 2-0 against the spread with Rex Grossman as their starting quarterback. Giants, of course, you know, falling apart in the final 7.5 minutes at home against the Eagles, and then last week laying the big-time egg at Lambeau against the Packers. Yeah,
too many turnovers. I mean, Eli Manning's just not protecting the ball at all down the stretch, and he really looks disinterested, I'll tell you, at times. And I got to give the Redskins some credit because I went against them last week against Jacksonville. I thought Jacksonville was going to step up big in that, but Washington showed me a little heart there, coming up with the overtime straight-up win to snap their 4-game losing streak. You know, that's 3 straight covers for them and 4 of 6 against the spread in the win column for them. But you know, having said that, as we like to say in the industry, the Giants are 4-0, both straight up and against the spread, their last 4 visits to D.C. So I would think if they have any kind of pride, and, you know, playing for that faint playoff possibility, I would think the Giants would step up here and take care of business against the Redskins. They beat them 31-7 in that first meeting.
Yeah, and totally dominated. Donovan McNabb played in that game. They were rushing him like crazy, ran through the Redskins like Swiss cheese that day. You're right about Eli Manning, though. You know, unlike his brother, I mean, Manning is a turnover machine. I think it's 20 or 21 interceptions so far this year, and not playing like he did in the Super Bowl season. But in fairness to Manning, you know, he's been without Steve Smith now for about 5 weeks. He's gone for the season. His whole wide receiver core has been beaten up this year. You know, in terms of Washington, I kind of tend to agree with you that the Giants are the play here because Redskins did go and pull the upset of Jacksonville. But let's face it, the Jaguars did not have Maurice Jones-Drew, and that's the difference in that game. So was it a good win for Washington or just an ugly loss for Jacksonville because the best player on the field wasn't playing?
I think you can argue that any win for Washington is probably a good win for Washington. This is definitely motivation against momentum. Giants have the motivation if they're going to try to get into the playoffs. Washington a little bit of momentum with their wins as of late.
And Trace, a game that you know, we had talked about the Monday night result, the Saints and the Falcons, and a caller earlier had asked about the New Orleans-Tampa game here for today. Tampa, another team that needs a lot of things to go their way to even have a shot at the playoffs. But the Saints, of course, you know, big game, you know, because what happens? Hey, if the Falcons happen to lose, don't think it's going to happen. If they happen to lose straight up, there's the NFC South title right there for the Saints waiting to be taken. Can they cover this number against a Tampa Bay team they beat like crazy on the road earlier this season?
Yeah, boy, if you ask me, this one's a real coin flip because I'm looking at a lot of conflicting trends in this one. I mean, let's give Tampa credit. They've really impressed this year. They're 6-1 against the number on the road, and I think they've won 5 of those 7 straight up. Now, I don't think they're going into the Superdome and beating the defending champs straight up here, but it is a lot of points to ask New Orleans to cover, although also keep in mind New Orleans has been on the road a lot down the stretch, and they've won their last 3 home games by double digits. So I would tend to think it's really 6 on one hand, half a dozen on the other. This is a game I'm probably staying totally away from, and I would say I actually like some points in this game because I think after the Saints' Monday night low-scoring game against the Falcons. I think something is going to break loose here, and I think there's going to be some points on the board in this game.
Oh, interesting.
And you see a lot of that with gamblers. You know, when they're undecided about the game itself, they turn to the total, and a lot of times they can find some value there.
But you are right. Since Thanksgiving Day when they were in Dallas, 4 of their last 5 games have been on the road, and this Tampa Bay team lost, I think, 5 key members of its defense over the past month. Certainly has been putting points on the board and giving them up as well. So the number at 47.5, I can see the over there. Hey, Trace, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your efforts. And, of course, anybody here at picknation.com. Remember, you can check out the free one-day all-access pass at picknation.com. You can get my plays for today, Steve's top crew play. You can get Trace's plays, the plays of all 13 handicappers for free using the one-day free all-access pass. I mean, it's a $500-600 value that people get free.
And I think what a lot of people out there don't realize is you can be a customer of ours that's been buying picks from us all season. If you've never taken advantage of the all-access pass before, you still can. You can still go and get all the plays, and even if you don't need to be convinced about our system, you should be convinced about the all-access pass itself, because a lot of gamblers find that when they get the opinions and the analysis from every single handicapper, it puts them in a position to get involved and kind of have to see which opinion jives with their own, and that's how they choose their games.
Right, we've talked about this before on the show, that a lot of gamblers are just looking for positive reinforcement. Right, exactly. They have a feel for a game. They want to see what the professionals like. And what they do often, you're getting 13 handicappers plays, you're getting all their analysis, all their ratings, and then you go, geez, I like the Saints, and these 5 guys like the Saints too. I think I'm going in the right direction. I think very few players come to our site, or if they are, I would be stunned, but I think very few come to the site that have no idea what they're going to bet and just go blindly into betting on a game. I think that most of them are students of the game, but they need that little extra edge. Listen, you can't win in this business unless you have a commitment, doing it 24/7, 365 days a year. That's what we do. That's what guys like Trace and myself have done for over 20 years, and that's why the all-access pass is great. The other thing about it, guys, not only is it a tremendous money saver if you happen to be a buyer, or tremendous offer if you happen to be taking advantage of the free one-day access, but you also get to see how we do, because on Monday you're going to see, whether you bought our plays or not, how every single one of us did, because we post the results, win or lose, the very next day for the world to say, because without integrity we have nothing.
That's why when you read the records on the site and when you go through all the handicapper pages to find which one is hot, to ride the hot guy, you can trust every word that's written on any one of our sites, and that's very, very important, because as a gambler who's coming in to buy a pick, if they can't trust the site they're buying the pick from, they're just spitting in the wind, so to speak.
Exactly. Hey, guys, listen, if you happen to be watching us on foxsports.com, only the first half hour of the program is aired every Sunday on foxsports.com. However, you can go over to picknation.com and catch the final 30 minutes as we continue to break down all of your games today from a point spread perspective. If you happen to come late to the dance, first of all, shame on you. Secondly, you can watch any part of the show or the show in its entirety anytime at your convenience over at picknation.com. Of course, I would suggest you do it before the games kick off. It really doesn't help you to watch the show after the games kick off, unless you're big fans of Steve and I.
Which could be.
Which I think that's only our mothers. Nobody else. Yeah, that's true. But again, take advantage of the free one-day all-access pass over at picknation.com. When we return, we're going to be picking up with Dave from Asheville, North Carolina, who wants to talk about a game we just touched on with Trace and hit earlier in the show, New Orleans, Tampa. I think that's going to be one of the biggest bet games of the day, because there's so much interest, and with the way the Buccaneers have been such a good road dog here over the past year and a half or so. So that's all coming up in the second 30 minutes as Pick Nation Report continues to roll on. I'm Al DeMarco along with Steve Budin, and we'll catch you on the flip side. We'll be back in just a minute.